morning, Mike. Can you hear me okay? It's
Yes,
Bernard.
sir. Good morning, Bernard. I hear you just fine. Thanks.
Well, good, good. For those of you who are tuning in with us live, good morning. It's Bernard Nomberg with Nomberg Law Live. It's our Tuesday morning session, and I'm very pleased that we've got Mike Royer with WVUA23 in Tuscaloosa with us this morning. Mike, thanks for spending a few minutes with us.
It's always good to chat with you, Bernard. Thanks for inviting me to be on with you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. For those of you, I'm sure most of you watching this either live or will be watching it later, if you've watched any television in Birmingham in the last 20 or plus years, 20, 30 years, you're going to know Mike Royer. He's been on television, anchoring the local news. You name it, Mike has done it in the broadcasting business in the state of Alabama, and we're honored to have you with us this morning, Mike.
Thanks.
Mike, you currently, in the last year or so, you have a new adventure that you're doing. Why don't you share with us what you're up to these days and tell us a little bit about it?
Well, after I finished 40 years in television, 35 of them in Birmingham, back in 2016, it just seemed like the right time to do something different. I thought 40 years on TV was probably plenty for me, and I imagined it was enough for our viewers as well. So I left Channel 13 and took a year off, knowing that I didn't want to totally retire. I wanted to do something else. And in conversations with the dean in the School of Communications here at the university, he thought about and then shared with the people who ended up hiring me about bringing me on board to work with students here at the university. Now, it's a great opportunity because the University of Alabama, along with the University of Missouri, are the only two universities that own and operate commercial television stations. That's so important to our students, and I can talk more about that later. But besides a degree in communications from the university, they also can get a year or two or more of experience either in front of a camera or behind the camera as producers. So I'm working with students here. A class is coming in behind me now that will be working in the newsroom during this hour, and I can help them get that experience and maybe avoid some of the dumb things I did when I was 20 and 21 and 22 years of age. So I've been here almost 2 years now, coming up in June, and if you can call it a post-retirement job, sort of, but it's a perfect situation for me to be in. I benefit from it, and I hope the students here do as well.
Well, Mike, it certainly sounds exciting, and what a unique opportunity, not only for the students, but it lets you give back to those who want to maybe follow in your footsteps.
I had a student speak to my class yesterday. That student happened to be my son, who's about to graduate from the University of Alabama, but he's working for CBS 42 in Birmingham. And I wanted him to speak to them because he's their age. He's where they are, sort of. Mm-hmm. I can share the things that I know that, in my opinion, will never change. Good writing, good storytelling, honest reporting, down the middle journalism where your opinion isn't appreciated or needed. Just report the facts. But those things never change, but I wanted Jack to talk to them about modern day coverage of news, one-man banding, as we call it, MMJ, where you go out and shoot your own video and everything. And so I want my students to have the experience I have and what I've learned in my 40 years, but also they're attacking journalism with different parameters, different equipment, obviously different technology. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm trying to expose the 17 kids in my class this semester to some of those things.
So you're teaching at WVUA is that an undergraduate class or set of classes?
Absolutely. I work at WVUA. That's where my desk is. That's where I'm sitting right now. I teach catty-cornered we're in Bryant-Denny Stadium, by the way. I'll show you around a little bit if you would like. But the class is in Reespeifer. If people are familiar with the University of Alabama, that is the home of the School of Communications. It's adjacent to Bryant-Denny Stadium. I teach a class there on Mondays and Wednesdays called JCM 326. That class is radio and television presentation, something I don't think you can just teach in a classroom. We're in the classroom half the time, but in our studio the other half of the time, getting in front of the camera, getting comfortable talking to a camera, getting comfortable getting information in your head and then giving it back to viewers in a clear and concise way. So that's how I'm trying to teach on-air skills, and really the only way to teach it is to put it in front of a camera and maybe not be very good the first time in front of a camera, but the next time be a little bit better, The time after that be a little bit better. And
Mm-hmm.
finally, when they lose their nervousness and gain confidence, you can see dramatic and prompt improvement in their presentation. And that works for people who want to get a career in front of a camera, but it helps with communication skills for anyone, whether they want to go to law school or
Sure.
medical school or something else, working on communication skills.
Well, Mike, I suspect a conversation that your son Jack and you have had over the years is the advancement of technology, the change of what is now, the modern way of communicating through social media. Share with us a little bit. Take us back from when you started and to now what you're teaching these kids. How has social media changed covering the news? And this is a question from a friend of mine, Morris, who's watching us up in Huntsville.
Well, that's the biggest change in our business. You know, when I got into television in 1975, the little station I worked at back in my home area of Terre Haute, Indiana, we were shooting film, actual 16 millimeter film. You had to be back at the station at 2 o'clock for them to process the film, which took 90 minutes. And you would literally roll the film and cut it and tape it with Scotch tape and make it onto the reel that was going to be into the newscast. Now, my son, our reporters at all the TV stations, can go out in the field by themselves with their camera and with their laptop, cover a story, write the story, voice the story in their car, edit it on their laptop, feed it back, and air it on their TV station without ever going into the building. Now, that's the most dramatic change in the way we cover news these days. And with their phones, they can show and record video very close to as good as some of the cameras we have, and they can go out with their phones and be live anywhere. Like you do with your talk that we're doing today, they can do that and cover a story. And my son and others have covered breaking news when they were caught out near the breaking news site without a photographer or a camera, and they turn their phone on, go live on Facebook on the station page, and do great reporting. And so social media has so dramatically increased immediacy. When I was growing up, local news was appointment news. You watched in Terre Haute, Indiana, you watched Harry Fry on Channel 10 at 6 and 10 o'clock, and you watched Walter Cronkite at 5:30, and you knew that's when you were going to get the news of the day. Now people are getting news all day, whenever they want it, immediately, and they don't have to wait for a newscast to come on. I still think there's a long future for local newscasts and maybe network newscasts as well, but people don't have to wait to be informed now. They want their information right now.
It's a society of instant gratification is what it is.
It is, and it's almost all good. I love social media. I warn my students, and I think all journalists should be very careful with it. Just because you see it on Facebook or Twitter or somewhere else doesn't necessarily mean you've got both sides of the story or all of the facts. So I love the immediacy of it, but be careful with where you get your information from. And that's a 30-minute talk. I could go into it for you today.
Well, Mike, I did see some great video. I saw that Jack was over in the Jacksonville area last week after the storm, and I saw a couple of times where he went live or was showing video of what he was observing and trying to get the word out. So that was a prime example of what you're talking about.
Well, when I'm talking about my career compared to someone Jack's age, I say, and I guess it's because he's my son, but I'll say it about some of our other reporters too, they're better than I was. But they have more tools than I had. They're faster than I am now. It would still take me a while to go to Jacksonville and get the story and write it and get it back in. These young people today, trained in technology, can gather that news quickly and get it on the air or to you on your device so much faster than we used to. That is a good thing. But I always advise caution with don't take everything as fact on social media until you're comfortable with the person providing it to you, that they're a solid reporter of information, whether they're employed by a media establishment or not. Before you make up your mind about the facts of a story, make sure you have both sides of the story, however you choose to do that.
Absolutely. Very wise words from a man who's been in the trenches for many years. Guys, if you're just joining us, I'm interviewing Mike Royer with WVUA23 in Tuscaloosa. Mike is a instructor. He's head of a program in the journalism school. They also have one of the only two university-led television stations on campus, the other being in Missouri. And Mike, I appreciate you spending some time with us. One of the neat things that I have learned over the last couple of weeks, just talking with you, is where your school, your classroom, your newsroom is actually housed. Now, on Saturdays in the fall, there's 100,000, 150,000 people on campus, but I bet a very small fraction of those people actually know what else is going on in Bryant-Denny Stadium.
You know, the leaders that were here 8, 10 years ago made a great decision whenever they expanded the north end zone of Bryant-Denny Stadium. WVUA23, which is that station right there on my shirt, when they before were in the basement of Reese Pfeiffer, and it was fine, but it was in the basement. And it was kind of dark and a little bit dreary at times. When they expanded the north end zone of the station on the 3rd floor and the 4th floor of the stadium in the north end zone, right at the Walk of Champions that I'll show you in a moment, they built what's known as the Digital Media Center. It houses the Center for Public Television, Public Radio. Crimson Tide Productions is at the other end of the room. Anything sports related, anything that comes from our campus that goes up on the SEC network is done from that end, and they do a lot of great work. And then WVUA 23 is at one end of the 3rd floor of this building as well. I'm sitting at my desk, and I'm going to reach up and reverse the camera here, Bernard, to show you without moving from my desk the view from my desk. And that's the window about 10 feet off to my right. And as I stand up and walk towards it, you will see the familiar sight of the Walk of Champions and the 2 football statues right out in front. I only know this because I had my class do some stand-ups out there earlier this week. Those players you see there, one has an 18 on his jersey. The other has a 92 on his jersey. That represents the first year Alabama had a football team, which was 1892. So if you walk up the Walk of Champions or standing out there as the team comes into the stadium, up on your left on the 3rd floor, the glass windows is where we're located. That is Reese Pfeiffer Hall, the brick building you just see off to the right of the stadium. That houses all of the classrooms for the School of Communication. And then we're in the north end of the stadium. Would you like me to continue my tour just a little bit?
Absolutely. But Mike, before you break away from there, it's all about location, location, location. And the Bama fans around the world, they recognize that area. That's where the team congregates for the end of the season national championship celebrations as well. But I know not everybody watching this is a Bama fan, so we can move on from there, Mike.
Well, I can also, if that's true, but for you Alabama fans or for anyone, I can show you Nick Saban's parking lot or parking spot when he comes to the stadium. See those concrete posts down there, those black posts at the end of that driveway?
Yes.
He pulls up there, gets out, walks in the stadium, and while he's in here for a meeting or a news conference or whatever he's doing, someone comes, takes his car, turns it around, so it's pointed the other direction, and when he's done, he walks out, gets in, and takes off. He has the best parking spot at the University of Alabama, and for good reason.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Mike,
Mike,
can I show you the newsroom?
Please. Love to see it.
All righty. I'm just going to walk around here. This is a class that Kelly, our computer whiz here at WVUA, is conducting. These students are here in our newsroom. I'll go all the way over here to the corner. There are, 4 rows of computers, and this class is in here training on the computers and on writing news stories. What's the name of this lab, Kelly? It's Lab 323. That is Kelly, the instructor for this class. Say hi, Kelly. And these are her students. We warned them ahead of time they might be on television, so in case any of them were wanted in another state, we wanted to make sure that they were properly identified. This is Khadijah right here. She produces our newscast at 5 o'clock, and this is one of our students. Haley, do you mind being on TV? This is Haley Amen, one of our fine students. She has just this semester started doing feature reports, including Spirit of Alabama. She's very talented, and when she graduates, she will get a job very quickly out of the university. You graduate when? May. In May. And she's doing a great job for us. From Maryland, I believe. Is that right? All right, thank you. And so that's our newsroom. That's my little work cubicle where we were a moment ago with the view out to the Walk of Champions. That's Lynn Brooks, our news anchor, talking to my boss, Steve DiOrio, in the other room. Very mean, very demanding boss, and he just gave me a thumbs up. He knows I'm talking about him. Here on the 3rd floor, Bernard, I'll walk out in the hallway, and it's a hallway like any other, but
Crimson Tide Productions is down at that end. Up the stairs is the Center for Public Television and Alabama Public Radio. Behind the glass here on my right is our control room. And I do want to walk in there to show you, and this is so important for our students. In this room, it's like any control room in a TV station. There is a director switcher board here. This is one of our fine directors, Seth. Hi, Seth. And this is the one thing in a TV station that scares me to death. And you can see why, Bernard. See all of those buttons?
I do.
All of the buttons on our control room. This one right here turns on camera 1, and that's the only button I know. Of everything on there, that's the only button I know. Our professional director directs our newscast. Our producer, like Kadisha, you saw a moment ago, sits in this chair and produces. But this is the exciting thing. All of these positions behind these two professional staff members here, during a newscast, every job back there is done by a student, whether it's what we call character generation, where they put your name on the screen beneath your face, or run audio, or run the teleprompter, all done by students. So and then the audio board is back here where Chris is seated. That's our audio board. But the students learn to operate all of this. And so whenever they go out in the real world and look for a job, they can tell that employer that they know how to do something. The most important job is this guy, the guy that runs the teleprompter. He runs the words fast or slow, depending on how you're reading. And if you're anchoring the newscast, your life is in his hands. So you've really got to trust him, Bernard.
Mike, I wanted to ask you, students who enroll at the University of Alabama as undergraduates, as freshmen, are they eligible for this program to be in this particular courses of study?
Yes. Being a former young person, and you being a former young person, you may remember sometimes it's easy to put things off a bit. We encourage our students in the School of Communications, if they want to be broadcasters, apply freshman year, get in here, do the stuff we train you on, like editing and writing and all of that. And by the time you're a junior, you can be on the air. And so as soon as they are students in the School of Communications, they can apply. We get 60 to 70 applications every semester. We can take about 30. But just because someone may not get in the first time, we encourage them to apply again and come into the program. But they're all eligible for the internships. Some of our interns do such a good job that we end up paying them also. So there are a few paid positions. I'm just in the studio now where we do our newscast. It's a studio like any other. There's a weather section over there, a section where our reporters and all stand. There are 3 cameras. Some stations, Bernard, use robotic cameras. We do not. We want our students to know how to operate studio cameras. So there's a student behind each of these cameras during the newscast. This is the anchor desk where the anchor's set. This set over here is just another place where the reporter's set. And this may interest you, Bernard. The one thing I do every week is a program called Law Call. Local attorneys. You may know Bob Prince, well-known attorney here in Tuscaloosa. He sponsors that program, buys the time. And when they hire, we do Law Call over on that set that you can see there. When they hired me, they said, Mike, we'd like you to do Law Call. It's a 30-minute attorney show. And my first reaction was, I said, well, you know what? I don't really know if I want to do an attorney show. I'm not sure that really fits into the kind of thing I do. And they said, well, here's how much it pays. And I said, you know what? I think I could embrace Law Call. I think I could enjoy that. That doesn't surprise you, does it?
Yeah, very good. Well, Mike, it sounds like students who get into the program, Mike, it sounds like students who get into the program really can pick and choose their path, whether it's behind the camera, in front of the camera, writing, editing, camera work, whatever it may be. They can find their path within this program and learn the entire from bottom to top, how it all works.
We have. I'll give you a couple of examples. We have a young female student named Sarah, who is a director, wants to be a director. And one day she said, can I practice anchoring the news with you when you have your other students do it? I said, of course. She knocked it out of the park the first time on camera. And I came out here and I said, you're really naturally good at this. You should consider doing this. She goes, no, I want to be a director. I said, well, you sure? And she goes, yes, I want to be a director. She's going to be a great director, but she's also going to be able to tell her employer, if somebody's sick or you need somebody on camera, I love being on camera too, I can do that.
the hottest job in broadcasting today, Bernard, isn't the anchorman or the weatherman. There are plenty of folks that want to do that. The hottest job is producing. The person responsible for every second and every word in the newscast. And our producers who spend a couple of years with us, instead of leaving here and going to Terre Haute, where I started, or going to Panama City or Columbus, Mississippi, nothing wrong with those TV markets, but they're small, lower paying news markets. Two of our best producers left not long ago and went to Louisville, Kentucky, making pretty good money on their very first job because they had that experience here at the University of Alabama and WVUA23. I don't have to tell you how satisfying that is.
Oh, absolutely. It sounds like that you're in a great spot to be able to lead the next generation of those folks who want to be part of production of news.
The one thing that concerned me the most, Bernard, when I came to work here, I have, at the time, teenage boys, and I kind of understand teenagers a bit, but I didn't know how a retired broadcaster in his 60s who likes to talk about the good old days would get along with college students who want to know how to get the information out on social media. And it's been the most pleasant surprise. They are, like I was at their age, anxious to learn, wanting to be on TV because it's okay to admit that it's fun, and want to do what they have to do to get good jobs when they get out of here. That's been the most rewarding and satisfying part of my new job here at the University of Alabama. It's a perfect job for me, and I love it every day.
Mike, that sounds great. We're going to be wrapping up in just a couple of minutes. I want to thank the folks who are currently watching us. If you guys have other questions for Mike, I can see them coming in. He'll certainly try to field them live or even after. If you watch this on the rebroadcast, you're certainly welcome to submit the questions. We'll make sure that Mike gets them. Mike, if students coming out of high school, say they're sophomores, juniors, and even seniors, are interested in the program, how do they get in touch with the right people in the communications school to be able to start that process?
Well, they can go online anytime and find the School of Communications, go to the dean's website and find all the information they want. I freely give out my email address. I'll be glad to give my cell number too. I encourage students to come visit the university, and when they do, they go on what's called Bama Bound, and they take them everywhere and they show them the university. Small groups come to the station sometime. But if someone watching this is thinking about college and thinking about communications and interested in what they've seen here today at WVUA23, let me give my email address. I'll be glad to give one-on-one tours and give them the same speech I've given here today of the opportunities available. My email is my name. It's Mike Royer, MikeRoyer, at WVUA23.com. Mike Royer at WVUA23.com. So glad I wore my shirt today. And shoot me an email. Tell me when you're going to be here. And if I'm here and not in class, I'll be glad to give you a tour of the stadium and of everything here at the Digital Media Center. You can come here and we'll get you graduated. And you'll have to work hard and you'll have to compete with other students. But when you graduate from here, you'll have experience in the area of communications that you're interested in. And I'll bet you we'll get you a job right out of college.
Well, Mike, it's been a real pleasure for me to speak with you today about all of what's going on at WVUA. I certainly appreciate you sharing all your expertise and wisdom with the folks.
Well, I don't know how much wisdom was involved, but I do have experience in 40 years in television, so I know a few things. And I've appreciated your friendship over the years, Bernard. I appreciate you including me in your broadcast, and I'll look forward to talking to you anytime. You come down and visit me, okay?
Oh, absolutely. I'll come down hopefully sometime soon. And guys, thank you. This will conclude today's interview with Mike Royer, WVUA23 in Tuscaloosa. We'll be back again next week, same time, same place, on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Central. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, your week, and we'll catch you next week. Take care.